You're watching Sky News. Now, Amanda Knox was back in an Italian court for the first time in 12 years today to hear her conviction for slander upheld. She had hoped to clear her name after a series of trials and retrials over the death of Meredith Kercher. But today, the court reconvicted her of wrongly accusing an innocent man of murder. She was handed a sentence of 3 years imprisonment, time she's already served. Her lawyer reacted outside court. Let's have a listen.
The comment that we are very surprised of the outcome of the decision. We need to read carefully the motivation, which will be available in the next 60 days. Amanda is very upset, and from the outcome of this hearing, she was looking to have a final point of all this 17 years now judicial procedure. So at the moment she's very upset. But of course we recognize the decision, we accept the decision, but we're looking forward to understand exactly what are the motivation behind, which, as I said, will be available after 60 days. After the reading of the motivation, we will take the necessary new steps.
Well, let's speak to Helen Saxton now, the author of a book on Amanda Knox and the controversies surrounding the case. Good to have you on the programme this evening. I guess many viewers would have thought that this notorious case ended many years ago, but for Amanda Knox, she's been going through years of legal battles.
Yes, and in fact this almost mirrors obviously because this is about the slander case, this mirrors the whole murder case, because of course we had 4 different trials for that, didn't ever seem to end, and finally everyone thought that it had been kind of done and dusted, as it were, in 2015. But here we are again. It's very much a sort of figure of the case, I think.
Yeah, and just explain the slander element of all of this.
Yeah, so it's interesting, this element, because this essentially comes down to Amanda Knox's word against the police. This is all about her falsely accusing Patrick Lumumba, who was her boss at Le Chic pub where she worked at the time of the murder. And she did wrongly accuse him, and she admitted that she had accused him, but that accusation was done under duress, she says, and this was done during a coerced confession with the police. Now, the problem is that interview was never recorded. It wasn't videoed, it wasn't tape recorded. And so Amanda says that she was forced into that confession and that she was hit around the head and she wasn't allowed food. The police, of course, say the opposite and say that they treated her very well and she was given chamomile tea regularly and was looked after very well, and she confessed of her own accord, and in confessing also basically said that Patrick Lumumba had been involved. So that's what it comes down to, and the problem is that, of course, there's no actual physical evidence as to who is telling the truth.
Yeah, and of course that sort of inconsistency and the way that evidence was gathered and the way that things progressed has been one of the reasons that the case is still surrounded in mystery.
Yes, and as part of my research into writing the book about it, people are still very, very much arguing about this to this day, and they're very, very adamant one way or the other as to whether she is innocent or guilty of the slander and the murder. And people will be very much polarised by this decision, I think, today as well. Some say that she deliberately said that Patrick was involved to sort of take the heat off of her, as it were. And some obviously say that she was this was coerced, and it's very, very difficult, and in fact, if not impossible, to know what actually happened, because none of us who are talking about this now were there.
Although we do know that one person did have his conviction for for Miss Kercher's murder upheld.
Yes, yeah, and this is something I feel very strongly about, is that this is about Meredith Kercher, who was murdered. A lot of people forget about her. In fact, when I was researching this book, I was talking to people who are very, very involved in discussing this case, and some of them didn't even know Meredith's name, which I just found almost more shocking than any of the other things that I discovered whilst I was researching this book. But in fact, a lot of people don't know the name of Rudy Gaudet, who is the person who was convicted of Meredith Kercher's murder, and he remains the only person, although he was released in 2021, he remains the only person whose conviction for her murder was upheld.
So what happens to Amanda Knox now? Because a prison sentence does come with this, but she won't be going to prison. And she says, has she said yet she's going to appeal? That is open to her, is it?
I would imagine that she will. I mean, no, she can't go to prison, yes, because that even back when she was finally convicted, acquitted of the crime, of the murder, she had already spent those 4 years in jail, so that's time served, and she won't be going back to any sort of custodial sentence for this now. If there is any way to appeal, I am 100% sure that she will. And I think again, this mirrors the actual case for the murder. I think we certainly haven't heard the end of this, I don't think.
No, so for her, the nightmare continues all these years on.
Well, and of course, Meredith's family, who are still obviously dealing with this and seeing this on the television news, again, 16, 17 years on.
Yeah, just remind us of what happened to her. She moved to America, didn't she? And she set up a new life there.
That's right, and she has since married and has 2 children. She runs 2 or 3 podcasts, some of which are about true crime. Many of her episodes are about people who've been wrongly convicted, understandably. So that's something she feels very strongly about. But yeah, she has written books. She runs. She's a media figure, I would describe her as.
Some cases we don't get to hear about. Other cases become so notorious they gain worldwide traction. What was it about this particular case, do you think, that caused such a stir around the world?
I mean, firstly, it was so multinational, of course. So poor Meredith was a British girl, a British student. Amanda was from Seattle. Then boyfriend of 5 days, Raphael Sollecito, was Italian. Rudy Contele was originally from Ivory Coast, but had immigrated into Italy. And Patrick Lumumba, of course, was there was just so many different elements to this. If you listen to the sort of tabloid press, it was all about. It was about Amanda, essentially, and pretty much everyone else got forgotten. Is probably quite a sort of succinct way of putting it. Because she's such a polarising character. She's such a polarising figure. People decide that either she's has been the victim of the biggest miscarriage of justice, or that she's some sort of devil incarnate who got away with murder. And there doesn't seem to be very much in between those two feelings.
What about your book? What conclusion do you come to at the end about what happened on that fateful night?
Well, it sounds like a bit of a get out, but my conclusion is that I don't think. Well, I know that none of us can ever know what happened because we weren't there. You know, only the people who were or weren't there in that room know for sure exactly what happened. We can all work it out from evidence, and we can come up with our ideas and conclusions. We can't know. I don't know what happened, and I don't claim to know what happened. And my book is a neutral telling of the case, but I would say that I err on the side of Amanda having not murdered anybody. But again, that's just my opinion. I don't know.
No, of course. And as you were saying, we shouldn't forget Meredith Kircher in all of this, and her family, who have also suffered so much over the years. We will leave it there. A fascinating case which continues. Helen Saxton, author of Amanda Knox, Crime, Trial, Release and Controversy. Thank you.
Thank you.